Around 3 a.m. on June 10th, 2016, the Gresham Police Department in Oregon received an emergency 911 call.
911.
Oh, I'm trying to kill me.
911, how can I help you?
I'm trying to kill me.
What happened?
I'm moving on first stabbing.
Somebody tried. Where is this person at now?
I'm not here.
Do you need an ambulance?
Yes. No.
Do you know the name of the person that did this to you?
No.
Are you bleeding a lot? Okay. I'm getting lots of help heading in that direction, okay? Can you tell me what your name is?
As you just heard, the person who made the call was a 34-year-old woman named Anastasia Hester, often called Annie. The location of the crime was her ground floor unit at the East Park apartment complex. When officers and paramedics got to the scene, they discovered that the front door was unlocked. As they stepped inside, the first thing that caught their attention was a trail of bloody footprints on the floor, leading back toward the entrance. Annie was discovered near the rear of the apartment, beside a sofa bed in the living room, where she was likely sleeping prior to the attack. She was still alive, but she was rapidly losing blood due to the shocking number of lacerations covering her body. In order to avoid disturbing the footprint evidence, the paramedics carried her out through the back door, tore down a portion of a fence, and brought her to the ambulance. She was immediately transported to the hospital. As law enforcement was walking back towards the apartment, the detectives noticed that a window was left open at the back of the apartment. Directly below that window was a cinder block. It was believed that the perpetrator used the cinder block to climb in and out through the window. The detectives went back inside and located the same window, which led to a child's bedroom. However, there was no child present in the apartment. Fearing a possible kidnapping, the top priority before examining the rest of the crime scene was to ensure the child's safety. After making a few phone calls, they confirmed that the child was Anastasia's daughter, Alice. According to a custody arrangement, Alice had been staying that night at her father Matthew Hester's home in Portland, roughly a 25-minute drive away. After eliminating the possibility of a kidnapping, detectives shifted their focus to analyzing the remainder of the crime scene. A few feet away from where Annie was found laid a pocket knife, and out in the hallway laid two more knives, including a steak knife and an 8-inch carving knife. It was later confirmed that all three knives had been involved in the assault. As officers continued to process the scene, they received devastating news. Annie had sadly passed away from her injuries. Police then turned their attention to speaking with Annie's neighbors. Several residents recalled hearing a woman screaming around 11 p.m. on the night of the attack. Over the next 4 hours, they reported hearing a loud bang, moaning, and what seemed like a conversation coming from Annie's apartment. Around 3 a.m., more screams were heard, followed by the sound of a door slamming and a car speeding away. Despite the disturbing noises, none of the neighbors called 911. One even admitted they tried to block out the sounds by turning up their music and running the bathroom fan. Later, Annie's autopsy revealed she had suffered over 60 stab wounds. Some of the wounds were shallow, less than an inch deep, while others reached depths of up to 8 inches. One detail, however, stood out to investigators. The letters VXV had been carved into Annie's shoulders. It quickly became clear that this attack was not only premeditated, but also deeply personal. Investigators knew they needed to speak with someone familiar with the details of Annie's life. Normally, this would be a spouse, but since Annie wasn't married, they decided to start with her ex-husband, Matt Hester.
Yeah, go ahead and have a seat. I'll be with you in a minute.
As you can see, Matt appeared to have difficulty walking, the result of an undiagnosed medical condition that left him in constant pain and largely unable to walk.
And so I guess Obviously, I told you at the house that your ex-wife is deceased.
But you
Didn't say how or anything like that, and we'll talk about that in a minute or two.
Okay.
She said that she had been stabbed. Officers responded down there. She had been injured. She was transported to the hospital, and she was pronounced dead at the hospital. And at this point, we're investigating this as homicide. Did your ex-wife say anything about having any problems with anyone?
I don't talk about her personal life.
When did you and Ann first meet?
We first met in 1999 through a mutual friend.
Matt and Annie's relationship had started under unusual circumstances. Matt was actually still involved with another woman when he first met Annie. He went on to marry this other woman, but their marriage ended in divorce just a couple of years later.
Why did you guys get divorced?
I cheated on her.
Okay.
In 2008, Matt married Annie, and in 2011, they had their daughter Alice. Despite their joy, the marriage remained troubled.
I ended up cheating on her. I'm not very good at this relationship thing.
As Matt and Annie's relationship began to deteriorate, they agreed to an open relationship with the condition of honesty about their affairs. Matt failed to keep his promise, and this ultimately led to the end of their marriage.
How are your feelings towards Ann?
I'm mostly indifferent. I want to deal with her as little as possible. I love being a dad.
Annie had full custody of Alice, while Matt only saw her on weekends. He wanted more time but missed child support payments, blaming his injury. To save on rent, he moved in with Angela McCraw, a single mom of 3. They started dating and married in 2014.
So what were you and Angela doing last night?
Sleeping.
Okay. Do you know what time you went to bed?
I usually get into bed around 10 o'clock.
Okay. And was Angela with you, or was she staying up doing other things?
She was with me in bed.
Angela was also interviewed by police during the investigation.
Have a seat right there.
Okay. I was on the verge of falling asleep to some Criminal Minds.
When you guys are sleeping, who gets the inside and who gets the outside?
Matt's against the wall.
Any chance that Matthew could have gone anywhere sometime during the night?
Oh God, every time he moves he wakes me up, so it's
Okay.
not a possibility. And I sleep like literally right up against him in his arms.
If he would have gotten up out of bed, you would know
Most
it.
definitely.
After their interviews, Matt and Angela handed over their phones so detectives could retrieve GPS data. Both claimed they were in bed by 10 p.m. and slept through the night. To verify this, police questioned their 3 other housemates, starting with Aaron McCraw, Angela's ex-husband and father of 2 of her children, who often stayed at her place.
Yeah, our relationship is a little weird.
But that night, Aaron wasn't home or at Angela's. He was staying at his girlfriend's place.
You were staying at your girlfriend's?
I
Staying at home.
I was not at home. I was at my girlfriend's.
Detectives got nothing useful from Aaron, so they moved on to the second roommate. He said he was out that night, returned around midnight, and saw Matt and Angela asleep in bed. Since the crime occurred between 11 p.m. and 3 a.m., his statement supported their alibi. Investigators then turned to the third and final roommate, Karina Walters.
I live with Matt and Angela.
Due to the rising rent prices in Portland, Karina found herself without a fixed address until Angela offered her a place to stay. For the time being, Karina began sleeping in Angela's garage. This meant she could hear the family vehicle, a silver Mazda SUV, every time it started up.
You ever hear them coming and going?
Yeah. Like I said, I live in the garage, and the garage door is really thin. So if their car starts up, I don't know if you haven't heard their car, of course not. It makes this really god-awful rattling noise when it starts up.
Okay.
And if they were to go anywhere, it would I'm pretty positive it would wake me up, but they never go anywhere.
Did Matt leave last night at all?
No.
Did Angela leave at all?
No.
Karina said she used the bathroom between 3 a.m. and 4 a.m., passing by Matt and Angela in bed.
They were asleep. Angela snores.
If Angela or Matt were responsible for this, and you knew it,
I would turn them in a heartbeat.
okay, you wouldn't protect them in any aspect.
Hell no.
Okay. Are Matt and Angela into threesomes, groupies, girl on girl, guy on guy, anything like that? Or is it all pretty normal?
It's very normal with them.
While the interviews helped support Matt and Angela's alibi, they also led investigators to other potential suspects. Annie was part of overlapping communities, one centered around pirate roleplay and the other a sexual fetish scene. In the intersection of both, she and her polyamorous partners took part in pirate-themed sexual encounters and attended so-called dungeon parties, where fantasies were explored freely. Given pirates' fondness for blades, investigators considered whether this might explain the killer's use of multiple knives. But after questioning Annie's partners and others from the community, all were ruled out. Their alibis checked out. With those leads going nowhere, investigators decided to follow their instincts and brought Matt and Angela back in for further questioning.
I'm just going to keep my eyes shut and my head down.
Okay. How did it make you feel when you heard about her being killed?
Shocked.
Mm-hmm.
Non-believing. Extremely sad because Alice had lost her mom.
Did you guys sleep well? What happened? Did you get through the night, or?
For the most part, we slept just fine until my dog started whining.
Do you remember, like, looking at a clock? Or?
I half opened my eye to look at the clock slightly and see that it was around 3.
Okay. Did you actually end up having to get out of bed to let him out? Or?
Yeah, I got up, walked downstairs, put their leashes on, took them potty, came back upstairs, put them in their kennels.
Mm-hmm.
And then I went to go potty and ended up puking and myself at the same time.
Oh, that's horrible. I'm sorry.
And that's I called Matt to help me, and he came and helped me. We took a shower to help get the poop off and rinse some of the sweat off of me because apparently I was sweating.
This series of events, which Angela had conveniently omitted, cast new doubt on her and Matt's timeline. Detectives re-questioned Matt, this time under more pressure, to see if his story matched.
I mean, obviously, we got to consider all possibilities here, and I'm sure you've seen TV. When we have situations like this, you know, everybody points to the ex-husband did it.
I want to help you guys. Because,
and I want to...
Sorry. The thing I'm worried about is my daughter.
I hear you. Matt, if you had anything to do with Anne's death, I need to know about it right now.
I did not. I would never do anything that would endanger my child.
Okay. And I'm glad to hear you say that, because that tells me what kind of parent you are. Is there any way to find your DNA involved in that murder scene?
No.
Detectives asked Matt to remove his shirt, and he agreed. If he had committed the stabbing, they expected to see defensive wounds or marks. But his body showed no visible signs linking him to the attack.
Do you know what kind of shoes you have right here? These are boots.
What size?
11.5 wide.
Okay.
Detectives asked Matt his shoe size to compare it with the bloody footprints, which matched a size 9.5 boot. They then brought up Angela's claim of Matt helping her shower at 3 a.m. Matt denied it, saying he only heard her get up to let the dogs out and never left the bed. With conflicting stories, detectives suspected someone was lying. To push Matt further, they bluffed, claiming they had evidence linking him directly to the crime scene.
I need to let you know that my investigation clearly shows that you're responsible for Anne's death and you're involved in it intimately. There's
then you would have charged me. So.
No, I wouldn't. I wouldn't.
If you thought I did, you would charge me.
Nope, not necessarily.
Nothing to do with her death.
Matt had been right. Without enough evidence, detectives had to release him and Angela. About a week later, Annie's funeral was held, with several undercover detectives present to ensure the family's safety and discreetly monitor their main suspects. Despite being under suspicion, Matt and Angela were still legally innocent, so custody of Alice was automatically transferred to Matt after Annie's death. During the memorial, a detective sat next to Angela and noticed a cut, roughly 1.5 inches long, on the back of her right hand between the the thumb and index finger. While the injury alone wasn't enough for an arrest, detectives knew they had to dig deeper, and they had a few investigative strategies still in play. Detectives combed through the phones Matt and Angela had handed over. Among the files, they found a photo Matt had sent Angela, a Payless Shoes coupon dated November 8th. Roughly an hour later, Angela replied with a picture from inside a shoe store showing 2 pairs of boots. Investigators brought that image to a local Payless store where the manager was able to offer crucial details. One of the boots in the photo was identified as a pair of Airwalk Miras, the same type and size as the bloody footprint found at the crime scene. As for the store itself, detectives learned that every branch in the region had updated their carpets, except for one, the Clackamas, Oregon location. That Clackamas store was the only one that still had the old carpet, which clearly matched the flooring visible in the photo on Angela's phone. Interestingly, this particular branch was located just 10 minutes away from Matt and Angela's residence. When detectives visited the store, they not only located the exact spot where the photo had been taken, but they also reviewed sales records from November. It turned out that a pair of Airwalk Miras boots had been purchased around that time using a credit card registered to none other than Angela Hester. Thanks to some classic investigative groundwork, detectives finally had solid evidence against Angela, but their work didn't stop there. They managed to gather and piece together damning surveillance footage captured by multiple cameras along the route between Portland and Gresham. The first footage came from a neighbor's security camera, capturing a silver Mazda SUV speeding down the street just before 11 p.m. It wasn't clear which driveway it came from, but the vehicle was tracked for the next 26 minutes until it arrived at Annie's apartment at exactly 11:23 p.m. Then, around 3 a.m., about 4 hours later, the same Mazda was seen heading back and eventually pulled into Matt and Angela's driveway, turning off its headlights before parking. As compelling as this evidence was, detectives knew it wouldn't be enough to secure a conviction, so they held off on making any arrests while they waited for the DNA lab results. While waiting for the DNA results, investigators turned their attention to a critical question. What motive would Matt and Angela have to kill Annie? They soon uncovered that the custody battle over Alice was far more bitter than initially believed, especially after Angela got involved, going so far as to report Annie to the Department of Human Services for child neglect. This was an email Annie wrote to a friend in response to the situation. Someone recently called DHS and Child Welfare. They sent me a letter informing me about it, but they're not investigating further because they don't see any reason to get involved. I honestly don't understand what I did to deserve this kind of chaos in my life. I'm just so done with all of it. Around this time, there were also accusations that Annie had abused Matt during their relationship. The tension was palpable, with accusations flying in all directions. In another email from the same period, Annie wrote, "Here's a lovely exchange where Matt is being antagonistic, uncooperative, and basically stole a blanket just to be petty." If the claims of Annie being abusive toward Matt and Alice were true, it would explain why Matt and Angela were so determined to gain full custody of Alice. However, these emails painted Matt as having ulterior motives. The more the detectives uncovered about Matt and Angela's lifestyle, the more they believed their intentions were far from noble. It was revealed that Matt considered himself a professional parent. Both he and Angela were unemployed and covered their expenses by collecting a variety of disability benefits. They collected benefits for their children, totaling about $2,000 a month. Annie believed this was a scheme, with Matt and Angela pathologizing their children's normal behavior to exploit government assistance. Furthermore, it seemed like they were attempting to do the same with Alice during the custody battle. When Alice struggled with the back and forth between the two homes, Matt and Angela tried to convince the judge that it was a sign of bipolar disorder. However, Annie and her lawyer countered, arguing that Matt and Angela's claims were driven solely by financial motives. In the end, the judge granted full custody of Alice to Annie, while Matt was left with around $42,000 in debt from court fees and back child support. Detectives also discovered that Annie had life insurance policies totaling $125,000. About a week after the murder, on June 16th, Matt called the insurance company to claim the payout. However, since Annie had changed the beneficiary during the divorce, Matt was no longer the beneficiary. To the detectives, this pointed to a clear financial motive for the murder. In October 2017, they were notified that DNA testing had provided a match to DNA found at the crime scene revealed 2 profiles on the knife block in Annie's home, one from Annie and the other from Angela Hester. Before making an arrest, detectives conducted surveillance on the Hester family. Since Annie's death, they had moved approximately 650 miles to the city of Pocatello, Idaho. Here, you can see Matt, the one with the debilitating undiagnosed medical complication, doing a multitude of errands and chores with ease. On October 4th, law enforcement was finally ready for an arrest. But Matt and Angela were clearly not in the car.
In the car. No! In the car. I have kids. They're going to be coming home. Tell me why you're arresting me. Why am I being arrested, you stupid f***? I have kids and dogs.
Matt told the police not to touch him and actively avoided being handcuffed, so he was brought down to the station under resisting arrest charges. They brought Angela into the interrogation room for a third time to disclose her charges, and if she was willing to speak, ask her some more questions.
And I'm going to cut to the chase. Okay? You are under arrest for Anastasia's murder.
So you're saying that I killed her?
Yeah.
Okay. I would like a lawyer if that's the case.
Okay. All right.
Because I didn't. I was at home.
During the brief conversation with Angela, detectives noticed she kept rubbing the scar on her hand, the exact spot where they had seen a cut immediately after the murder. But that wasn't all. After the interview, Angela instinctively wiped the mouth of her water bottle with a napkin before throwing it away, almost as if she had developed a habit of erasing her DNA. Meanwhile, Matt was once again brought into the interrogation room, pretending to struggle with simple movements due to his so-called medical condition, a performance that detectives were now viewing with increasing skepticism.
I just want to get done so I can get home to the kids. Here's the deal, okay? Our investigation clearly shows that Angela committed the murder against Anastasia. We're not here to discuss if it happened. I don't care what you think. In fact, you've been under surveillance for the last 2 weeks by the U.S. Marshals. So we've got you walking across the parking lot at Costco, picking up soda boxes and water bottles, whatever you were doing. You're not limping. You're not walking with a cane. I'm not buying the fibromyalgia. I'm not buying it, okay?
The detectives decided to show Matt photographs of Annie's autopsy.
That's her. She's touching. Andrew tried to decapitate her. Cut all the way through her jaw. Stabbed all over her face. Carved a Roman numeral on her chest. Based off the evidence, I don't have a choice but to accept that she did. Okay.
Matt proceeded to hang Angela out to dry, saying he was sleeping until about 3 a.m. when Angela woke him up.
Like, I just woke up, my wife's panicking, all of me. Okay, whatever you need, let's go get you. I take care. So we go upstairs, I come and get in the shower. She is bleeding. What are you asking her? What is she saying? She didn't say anything. She was shaking. Okay. Did you ask her what happened to her? Why is she bleeding? No, I was just getting her calmed down. So the next day, cops knock on your door. They tell you Anastasia's dead. Okay. You know that your wife came home in the middle of the night, cut up and bloody, and you go to take a shower. What are you thinking in your mind? Even though you don't want to believe it, what are you thinking? It's possible that she doesn't.
Matt claimed he never asked Angela what happened while helping her clean the blood, but detectives had him cornered. He admitted to scrubbing the Mazda and lying to police, yet insisted he wasn't involved in planning the murder. That is, until the detective said one crucial thing.
Who else was involved in this? And this is where you need to think about it, because it wasn't you, it was somebody else. Who else was involved in this? She talked about hiring something. When she talked about hiring her ex-husband. Okay, Aaron. I can recall that we talked about murder for hire. I recall that the number was around like $50,000. Here's what I would like to ask you to do. Call him, discuss the murder for hire plots. Meaning you're driving, what do you need to know? I gotta know what to tell the cops.
To reiterate, the detective's plan was for Matt to call Aaron in an attempt to get a recorded confession. After a few minutes of laying out the game plan, Matt rang in.
Hello?
Hey, is Aaron there?
Yeah. Hold on.
Thanks.
Let me put you on
Okay.
speaker.
Yep.
Okay, what's up?
Hey, I don't know if you guys know, but Angela got arrested.
I heard you were arrested.
No, Angela's the one who got arrested. I just got out of the police station. I want to make sure that our story is the same when I go in and talk to them again. So I'm not sure what you know. Like, did she talk to you at all?
Nothing.
You know nothing. So,
No.
So you weren't involved in this at all?
No.
You didn't help her drive or anything like that?
No.
I just want to know if Angela got a hold of someone to help her or if she did it on her own. So I know what to tell the cops when they ask me. Aaron? Aaron? Yeah.
After the phone call, Aaron was interrogated and passed a polygraph, so he was released due to lack of evidence. Although Matt admitted to cleaning up blood and lying to the police, he was also let go. Angela, facing first-degree murder charges instead of aggravated murder, was no longer eligible for the death penalty after Oregon's 2019 change in laws. That year, an arrest warrant was issued for Matt.
You were under arrest for conspiracy to commit murder and solicitation to commit murder, the murder of Anastasia Hester. That is why we're here talking to you. It's signature on that line, please, if you choose to waive your rights.
No, I would like a lawyer.
All right, Matt. Thank you so much. It was nice seeing you again.
Matt was charged with conspiracy and solicitation to commit murder based on his admissions during interrogation, where he confessed to discussing payment with Aaron for Annie's murder. Angela pled guilty to her charges, while Matt accepted a plea deal, dropping the conspiracy charge. This could help prosecutors in the future, avoiding double jeopardy issues. Angela was sentenced to 25 years with parole eligibility, while Matt received a sentence of under 5 years, becoming eligible for parole in March 2023. They filed for divorce while in prison and no longer communicate.